right now!
Picture this. You're out in the wilds of Medellin, Colombia. Why you're there, I don't know, but you're enjoying the vast green landscapes, taking in the fresh air that South America has to offer. And then all of a sudden there's rustling and rumbling, and out of nowhere, one of the largest land mammals on Earth is running towards you at 30 kilometers an hour. And if you somehow manage to escape this vastly territorial animal, and once you've changed your thoroughly shat pants, you're probably going to be asking yourself, why the hell was there a hippo in South America? Well, here's why. For this, we need to go back to 1978, about 150 kilometers out of Medellin, Colombia, to a soon-to-be cocaine-fueled theme park by the name of the Hacienda Napoles. Once owned by cocaine kingpin and former 9th richest man in the world, Pablo Escobar, the Hacienda Napoles sported things like a beautiful Spanish colonial house, a private airport that you could go in and out of, no questions asked, a go-kart track, and most importantly, a zoo. Now, this wasn't just any zoo. These animals were brought in specifically for Pablo by Pablo. These animals included antelope, elephants, exotic birds, giraffes, but most importantly to this story, 4 African hippos. These 4 hippos, 3 female and 1 male, were smuggled onto the Hacienda Napoles in the 1980s, and by all accounts, they lived in a really massive part of the section. They had water and food, and they were well tended to, living themselves a beautiful hippo life in a beautiful part of South America. This was, of course, until Pablo Escobar's death in 1993. For more info on that, go and check out Narcos. I'm over here talking about hippos. Post-rooftop shootout, the Hacienda Napoles fell into disrepair. The government and the Escobar family were constantly back and forth over who owned what, but as most governments tend to do, they seized control of all of the assets. This included all of the cars, the planes, the property, and also the animals. Most of the other animals in the private zoo were sent off to other more legal zoos, mostly around the US, but the 4 hippos remained. The reason why these 4 spicy water cows remained is because it's so hard to move them from one place to another. If you tranquilize a hippo, there is a very high chance it just won't get up. So rather than risking the lives of these creatures, they decided to just leave them there. Unfortunately, the fence of the enclosure that was built for these hippos was not exactly sturdy, and not too long afterwards, they eventually escaped. However, if you are a hippo and you find yourself out of West Africa and you're watching this, firstly, subscribe. Secondly, the most perfect place in the world for you to be outside of Africa is probably going to be Colombia. It's hot, it's sticky, there's plenty of greenery for your vegetarian appetites, there is tons of waterways for you to go swimming. It's a home away from home. Secondary to that, there's no natural predators for hippos in South America, and the people of that particular part of the country knew the dangers and just stayed away. Now let me get down to the nitty gritty, because out in the wilds of Africa, hippos have a certain way of living. Some would call it a harem. I don't know if that's going to be allowed, but the thing is, there is, you know, a daddy hippo, and that daddy hippo has relations, gets jiggy with multiple lady hippos to make multiple baby hippos, and a fertile female hippo can pump out 1 calf per year once they reach an age of sexual maturity, which is normally around ages 9 to 11. For males, it's 7 to 9. Now, because there were no predators in South America and the people were staying away, these hippos were starting to produce at such an alarming rate that they were becoming sexually active from ages 3 to 4 in males and ages 7 to 9 in females, which means that the turnover takeover for hippos year upon year was growing almost out of control. In the 10 years from 1993 to 2003, it is estimated that the hippo population in Colombia reached almost 50 to 60 hippos. Aside from one male hippo called Pepe, who was killed because of his apparent aggression towards Colombian people, majority of these hippos have been left to their own devices. That means that all of the generations of hippos that are being born don't get exposed to humans, don't get exposed to natural predators, and just go for wanders. They just roll up in your backyard, they'll go for a trot through town, have a look at the shops, do what they got to do. They might turn up to the Sunday market, you just don't know. Also, if that wasn't outlandish enough that a hippo could just walk through your backyard, people in the surrounding area have also just never been aware of the danger, because it got to a point in the late 90s to early 2000s where people were just taking baby hippos back to their houses. There is a quote here from the El Colombiano, the local paper, in which families have been interviewed about bringing these tiny creatures back to their children. They interviewed some of the children, and these are their quotes. "My father brought a little one home once. I called him Luna because he was very sweet. We just fed him milk. It's nice to have a little animal at home." Another quote was captured saying, "My father brought home 3, we bottle fed them, and then when you pour water on their backs, they go all slimy. It feels like soap." Firstly, terrible parenting, okay? You can't just roll up with a hippo and be like, "I got you a new pet." It doesn't work like that. And the internet's been around for a long time, so they could have Googled this. How dangerous are hippos? Pretty dangerous, dude. The mammal with the highest rate for killing humans, it's not a tiger, it's not a lion, it's not a bear, it's a goddamn hippo. I am sitting here in New Zealand, 10 to 15,000 kilometers away, freaking out on behalf of these people, because at some stage, that hippo is going to grow up and just turn the whole family into a snack. There's no level of danger sensed by either creature until nature takes over and the hormones kick in, and that hippo just starts playing hungry hippos with every member of their family. But let's not get too excited just yet. They are trying to sort a solution, because in the last 30 to 40 years that these hippos have been introduced to South America, they have seen obviously exponential growth, like I mentioned earlier. But as of 2024, there is a chance, and this is reports only, that there could be up to 200 hippos hiding out in the wilds of South America. A couple of solutions have been brought forth. Sterilizing all the males is one option, but that costs a lot of money, a lot of time that the Colombian government has said they do not have. And following on from that, like I said earlier, if you tranquilize a hippo, there is a chance it just won't get up. So there are ethical reasons and conservation reasons why these things also can't go ahead. The other option, and perhaps the more dramatic option, is that they are going to just wipe out all the males. Small issue there. The first thing, the community have grown super attached to these hippos and they don't want to see any of them harmed. Fair call. Secondly, these things are really good at hiding and they can stay underwater for a long time. If there are 200 plus hippos in the wilds of Colombia and you miss one male hippo, based on how fast their reproduction has gone over the last 20 to 30 years, you will have the same issue on your hands. You'll be up to your eyeballs in hippos in the next 5 to 10 years. So at this point, they really don't have a concise solution as to how to fix the hippo problem. All I can imagine now is that one last moto hippo just rizzing up all the last females, because my God, dude's gonna have like zero competition and it's just gonna be ladies and your boy moto. The last solution that was brought forward, and perhaps the most questionable out of the rest of them, is that they would simply eat them. One of the hippos in the early 2000s got too close to an electric fence and fried itself. It keeled over and the locals went down and chopped bits off it, took it home, butchered it and ate it. No reports of anyone getting sick, but eating hippos can be really, really dangerous. In Zambia in 2011, 500 people were infected with anthrax after eating tainted hippo meat. Sometime before that, in 2004, in Uganda, 5 people died from eating a hippo that had died of mysterious causes. Don't know why you would cook up a hippo that had died of mysterious causes. Don't know why you'd even bother personally, but I mean, depending on how tasty it might be, according to reports, they reckon it tastes a lot like pork. Are you willing to risk it for the hippo biscuit? Because I'm just not. I'm not willing to poison myself because it might kind of taste like pork. I'm just gonna leave them to be hippos at this stage. Like I'm not that hungry. No one should be that hungry. At this stage, Colombia's government have made their efforts more about conservation and confining the population as they have been to actually neutralizing it. The Hacienda Napoles now operates as a theme park, and part of that theme park is the zoo, and the hippos that are still enclosed there are very, very well looked after. So they're looking at researching them and trying to figure out the ways that they are adapting to the Colombian climate, and they're going to use that to go out and try and find these wild hippos and contain the population to just that area of Colombia, lest they spread out and there's just going to be hippos in South America for the rest of time. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention that the animal that kills the most humans in Africa has not actually killed any humans in South America, despite them being in the same area for the last 30 to 40 years. But never say never. Isn't it crazy to think that in 500 to 600 years time, you're going to have like zoologists and people looking back at this quote unquote native population of hippos in South America, and it all boils down to this one dude with too much money who is trying to impress his kids? Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, look, I'm not going to make any promises because every single time that I do, something comes up. I'm going to try and make more long form content for you to enjoy. I enjoy making it. I'm hoping you enjoy watching it. Please remember to like and subscribe. Chuck in the comments what you'd like me to go into depth on in the future. This has been Pablo Escobar's Cocaine Hippos. I really enjoyed researching this because it's allowed me to go into a field where there actually isn't a huge amount of YouTube videos about this. There's a few podcasts and there's a lot of like articles and other bits and pieces, but there isn't a huge amount about the hippos specifically. So the fact that I was able to do this research and chuck this video out there for you guys is pretty cool. I'm obviously still making moves on TikTok. Go over there and like and follow and whatever you got to do. You've been amazing. I've been BB Malloy. Welcome back to the channel. Peace and have a good day.